Trust me, dude. I thought it was Sunday too, bro. I thought it was Sunday too. Kind of throws you off on these 3-day weekends. All right, guys. Well, man, I hope you guys are doing great. I wanted to hop on here, we normally run our charting sessions on Sunday nights, but obviously 3-day weekend, we're running it today. I know the market was open for a little bit, but you'll never catch me trading no news Monday, guys, or not no news Monday, but you'll never catch me trading a bank holiday. That's something that I've done in the past when I was first trading, and it never really ended up well. We always have a range that's like under 100 points, sometimes under 50 points. Terrible price action because the banks are gone, right? All the big players are gone. We're not going to have volume. The market's not going to be moving, so it's just not something that I mess with. And yeah, there's still opportunities to catch good trades. But in my opinion, I just don't think it's worth it. So I don't touch it. And I don't run live trading sessions on bank holidays either, because I'm not going to encourage trading on a no news. Why do I keep saying no news? On a bank holiday. I just trade in queue, solely in queue. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. That's the way I look at it. Yeah, I don't mess with... I'm not against trading anything else. I'm not against trading in other indices or trading gold or whatever you want to trade, but it's just not what I do. I just trade in queue. All right, guys. Well, let's just jump into our charting. So very, 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 very bullish, right? Looking at the weekly time frame, we ended up closing very bullish. You know, went kind of an interesting week, very interesting week. We were able to go 4 days in a row, catching some bangers. Friday, we didn't take any trades. I didn't take any trades, at least. But yeah, so we moved up last week, you know, almost 750 points, about 3,000 ticks. Very good move last week, right? And we're able to capitalize on a lot of this move. We're able to catch really big long positions on some of these trades, catch some bangers, take our piece of the pie, right? That's always what it's about. What can you take? What does the market offer you? If the market offers you 200 ticks, you take 200 ticks. If it offers you 50, you take 50. If it offers you 300, you take 300. Whatever piece of the pie that you can take, you take it, and you're content with it, and you move on, right? We don't try to take too much. We don't try to take what the market doesn't offer us. Yeah, we don't get greedy, right? We take our profit, we walk away. So that's what we did last week, and we're going to try to continue that same exact discipline this week. Now, I'm always going to have the same discipline no matter what is going on in the market, no matter how volatile we are, no matter how choppy. I'm always going to be disciplined because I know that is one of my edges in the market. Being a disciplined trader is going to make me so much more or give me a higher probability of finding success in a difficult market to trade, right? So just a kind of 2 cents there before we jump into it. But again, very, very bullish on that weekly time frame. And what we did on the daily is we got displacement of these relatively equal highs, right? So we kind of broke out of this daily range that we've been ranging in since December. We've been kind of stuck in this range since December, moving sideways, sideways, sideways. And what we finally did was we broke out of this range with displacement. And what do I mean by that? Well, we have this range right here, right? And you could even grab this rectangle tool and you could look at this range, right? The high is up here and we've just been ranging like this, sideways, right? We haven't been able to break out of this. We form lower lows, we form lower highs, we form higher highs, we form higher lows. And if that means we're moving sideways, that means we're consolidating on a higher time frame, which to me, you don't always like that. But as intraday traders, as day traders, we're still able to capitalize on this kind of price action. Whereas, if you're a swing trader, much harder to be able to capitalize on sideways price action like this on the daily time frame. But us as day traders, we're still able to capitalize on this sideways, more consolidating daily price action, right? So we've been able to capitalize on it pretty well. But what we've finally done is gotten displacement above this range. So notice how we have these two swing highs up here, right? Let me clear this out just to make it more clear. So two swing highs up here, 1, 2, right? So those are relatively equal highs. That means that's a very strong liquidity zone or liquidity level, because now we have all of our stop losses, all of our orders resting above these highs on the daily time frame, which typically means we're going to have bigger orders here because it's a higher time frame, right? So it's a more important level to me than, let's say, a 1 minute swing low or a 1 minute swing high. But here's the deal. If we would see price wick above this level and then close back down inside of that range, then I wouldn't necessarily expect a continuation up to our next liquidity. But since we closed above, notice how the body of this candle right here, notice how we get a close above right there. Above those highs, that shows me displacement. That shows me that price wants to try and get continuation to buy side liquidity, right? Now, this is all purely technical analysis. What we've noticed in the past few weeks is that fundamental analysis has played a huge role in our trading compared to technical. Now, technical is still very important, but what we've really had to do is combine our fundamental analysis with technical. And if you aren't super familiar with what that means we have to pay attention to the news. We have to pay attention to what is going on with NQ, with all the companies that affect the NASDAQ, like Apple, Amazon, Google, all those kinds of companies, Tesla. But we also have to pay attention when now that Trump is president, when he tweets something, when he talks about tariffs, when he talks about a big economic change in the US, that is now really affecting the market. So sometimes our technical analysis does not matter as much as a tweet, right? Which is a pretty crazy thing to think about, but it's true. So now we have to really pay attention to our fundamentals. So once we've broken out, and now I'm just kind of going back to talking technical, right? We can leave the fundamentals on the sideline right now. Let's talk purely technical analysis, which is purely our charts. What I want us to look at, first of all, in this daily time frame, is this big down close candle. Remember, these purple candles are bearish and the white candles are bullish, all right? So this purple candle, think of it as a red candle or a down close candle. So we have this big fair value gap right here on the daily time frame. We have this candle here with the wick right here. We have this big down close candle, and then we have this candle right here with this wick. So this entire area right here is a bearish fair value gap. So what I like to do is chart that out like this. Boom, right here. And I would title that a daily bearish fair value gap, right? So you could do a daily SIBI, which stands for sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. It's the same thing. Or you can put daily bearish FEG in that level, however you want to chart it out. But let's just look at where price is now relative to this fair value gap, because what we want to see for a continuation, and what do I mean by continuation of this breakout, would be price continuing bullish after breaking out of this consolidation range. I would want to see continuation up to our next buy side level, which is this swing high up here on the daily, which is our all-time highs, right? So these are going to be all-time highs, because that is the highest price that NQ has ever reached, right? On these contracts, we have never gone higher than this price at 22,450. So that's all-time highs, and that's where our next liquidity on the daily time frame is resting, is going to be all of our buy stops above this level, right? So what we want to see on this fair value gap is a close above that, invalidating the bearish fair value gap, giving us more conviction that price wants to continue up to our liquidity above. What we haven't seen so far is a close above or an inversion of that daily fair value gap. So right now, we have to wait until tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's close to see if we're actually going to close above that level or not. But once we see a close above that fair value gap, that's when we'd expect that for sure, that continuation up to that all-time high, creating new all-time highs sometime this week is when I would expect that, right? Because if you look now from where price is exactly right now to that level, it's about 938 ticks, right? Less than 250 points away. Very easy for price to reach that level some points or this upcoming week, right? But we need to look at this daily fair value gap, because I'm going to get rid of this fair value gap now because I need to try out some other levels. But if we look down here, we're going to see another daily fair value gap, a bullish one down here, right? Okay, so bullish fair value gap. Let's chart this out as a daily busy, and that's going to be a daily buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency right here. Okay. So let's say tomorrow we start seeing a pretty bearish day. Let's say price is selling off. We're looking very bearish. What does that tell us? That tells us we're probably trying to rebalance and come down into this imbalance down here, this fair value gap, because what is price always trying to do? It's always trying to rebalance an imbalance, or it's trying to grab liquidity, right? So down here, we have this bullish fair value gap. If we can't close above the bearish fair value gap up here on the daily, then that's when we're expecting price to come back down into this bullish fair value gap down here to rebalance it before we actually end up distributing back up, right? So we'd want to see something like this, where price comes down tomorrow, takes out previous day low, and then we start seeing that expansion like this, right? Something along these lines, where we're coming up for all-time highs after we get a rebalance of this daily fair value gap, right? Now, we don't have to go down for this level, and this is something that we're going to have to read tomorrow during our New York session, right? Are we extremely bullish during New York session? Then we're not expecting price to come back down for that previous day low into that fair value gap. We're now just expecting price to expand to all-time highs and continue bullish. But we always want to keep in mind that when we are in a daily bearish fair value gap still, We've had a pretty good expansion move. That price likes to rebalance at some point, so we could see price come back down to that daily bullish fair value gap before we end up seeing that continuation again, back up to buy side liquidity, right? Does that make sense to everybody so far? If not, remember, leave your questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about that. But what I want you to do also is chart out the low of this daily candle, the wick right there, because this is going to be our previous day low, that I want to have us chart out there, right? So we want to chart out previous day low, because if price does end up being pretty bearish tomorrow going into Tuesday, then we're expecting price to come down and sweep that previous day low, trade into that daily busy. It would be one of our main liquidity levels that we're looking for price to grab. Now, we don't need to chart out previous day high right now because we've already taken it out. Not too concerned about that. But what I do want us to do is also go over to ES over here. And we're going to chart out a few levels on ES. It looks a little bit different than NQ because ES already technically broke through that range, but then it chopped around for a while and it created another range over here. And now we're starting to break out of this range. But what we have over here is all-time highs on ES at 617875. So that's going to be, we're going to chart that out as all-time highs. And you can just chart, you could do all or ATH for all-time highs, or you can chart out the actual all-time highs there. Doesn't matter, it's up to you. But yeah, so over there we have all-time highs up there. And what we haven't done is displace this high that NQ has displaced, right? So what I like to call that, and what a lot of traders will call that, is SMT divergence on a daily time frame. So we have this swing high up here, right? And if we look at NQ, do we notice how when I move my cursor above this high, it's the same exact swing high there, right? And what we see on NQ is that NQ has swept this high already. Boom, right there. We've already swept that high, but ES has failed to sweep that high right here, giving us bearish SMT divergence. And what does that tell us? That is a indication for a reversal. Now, it's not going to be everything that you look for. Just because you see SMT divergence doesn't mean that you are for sure going to see a reversal, but it is one indication and one confluence that I use in my trading to look for some type of reversal, right? So if we're already looking to see price come back into a daily bullish fair value gap, and then we see something like this SMT divergence where ES looks a lot weaker than NQ, then we really want to pay attention to ES going into tomorrow. And if ES is looking very bearish because of that SMT divergence, then we're going to expect NQ to do the same and start heading down for that daily bullish fair value gap. So what you can do there is you can chart out SMT, or you can put SMT divergence. I like just to put SMT there, just so we know that we have that divergence in price there between two correlating markets or correlating indices. So we have that SMT. Okay, and then we also have that daily bullish fair value gap right there on ES as well. Boom, we got a daily busy here. So I'm going to chart that out as a daily busy. Okay, so if we're going to see, like I said before, bearish price action going into tomorrow, we are looking for ES to come down and sweep that previous day low, and we're looking for NQ to come down and sweep that previous day low right here. So previous day low on ES is 612125. Boom, previous day low right there. So now we have our previous day low chart on ES and on NQ. We have that SMT divergence charted out. So that divergence between correlating indices right there. And then we have our all-time highs charted out. Okay, so now we've got all those levels, key levels charted out on the daily time frame. If I was looking at it right now, which I am, then to me right now, this looks like we would want to head back down into that daily bullish fair value gap, and that we wouldn't want to see a continuation to all-time highs just yet until we get some kind of pullback into a higher time frame fair value gap. That's what it looks like to me right now, purely just looking at the daily time frame. But the other thing we need to do, obviously, is top-down analysis. So we need to start going to our other time frames to see the bigger picture, right? We need to get the full picture, the full story. We can't just look at one chapter in the book and make up our mind on the ending. We have to look through every chapter. We have to read through the entire book, right? So each time frame is like a different chapter in the book until you get to the end. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the 4-hour time frame here. And now we're going to start charting out our 4-hour levels to see, okay, do these 4-hour levels line up with our daily levels? Do they look different? What does the 4-hour tell us that the daily time frame didn't tell us before, right? So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go to the 4-hour time frame, and we're going to look for any imbalances, fair value gaps on the 4-hour. So down here, if we look through all this, we do see a volume gap or a volume imbalance here. This is our new day opening gap, right? This is the gap in price from, or our new week opening gap, I should say, right? This is the gap in price from our closing price on Friday and our opening price Sunday night. So that's going to be our new week opening gap. So this is a big volume imbalance, but we've already filled that. So I'm not too worried about this anymore. We want to look at imbalances or fair value gaps that have not been filled yet. So what we're going to do is find our next one on a bullish fair value gap down here, right? So this is going to be a 4-hour busy or bullish fair value gap down here. Boom, 4-hour busy right here. 1 second, guys. All right, so 4-hour busy right here. All right, do we see any other 4-hour imbalances that might catch our eye? The only other 4-hour bullish imbalance I see is going to be down here, right above that 4-hour or that daily bullish imbalance. So we've got another 4-hour busy right there. So that's going to be any, all the 4-hour fair value gaps that I see in terms of bullish fair value gaps that I'm worried about right now. The only ones I'm concerned about, right? In terms of bearish fair value gaps on the 4-hour, we got to go all the way over here and see if we have any bearish fair value gaps that we have not closed above yet. And what we can do is we can see that this right here, this is our only 4-hour fair value gap, bearish fair value gap that we are worried about. There's none up here, nothing else there. So what I'm going to do is chart this line right here at the top of this fair value gap, and then I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to see if we closed above. All right, so we closed above, inversing that 4-hour bearish fair value gap. So now we have no other bearish fair value gaps on the 4-hour time frame keeping us down. Okay, so that's important because if we see the 4-hour holding very strong bullish structure and we don't have any other bearish fair value gaps holding us down, then we can very easily start pumping up to those all-time highs, right? So now all I'm concerned about is liquidity and bullish imbalances here on the 4-hour. If we look up at this high, we can see we have a 4-hour swing high right here. So now this is going to be external liquidity. Anything on the 1-hour, the 4-hour, the daily, or the weekly is going to be external liquidity. It's just higher time frame liquidity that we're looking at. Very important levels of liquidity or liquidity zones, whatever you want to call it. But we have that level at 22,28175. And then what we do have is, remember how I talked about previous day low, how that's going to be a key liquidity level. Look at here on the 4-hour, we have a 4-hour swing low, which then becomes that key liquidity level right there, that 4-hour sell side liquidity level, right? So now we have that 4-hour sell side, that's our previous day low, and we have this 4-hour range. So what I want to do here on the 4-hour is use the Fibonacci retracement tool, right? So this is going to be really key to finding our ranges in the market. So we're going to go from a swing high, our most recent swing high, to our most recent swing low down here. And I have these levels charted out. I have the 0.5, which is the equilibrium. I have the 0.62 and the 0.79, which is going to be our OTE, very key levels to look for retracement. But what I want us to mainly look at is the 0.5, because let's say we do trade back down tonight into this 4-hour bullish fair value gap, into the discount. Anything under this 0.5 is going to be the discount. Anything above is going to be the premium. So if we want to see a pullback into the discount on the 4-hour, we also want to see a 4-hour fair value gap for price to trade into. And look at how we have a perfect 4-hour fair value gap right in the discount of this range. So if we want to see that pullback, let's say we get pulled back down to this level. If we want to see that continuation up out of this level, then we need to see us respect the 4-hour bullish fair value gap and not close below it. Because if we do close below that 4-hour fair value gap, that's when I'm expecting for price to now come down and take out this swing low here and trade into that previous day low. So this is going to be a very key 4-hour fair value gap here, because I really think that if we react off of this level and we see a strong reaction back up, that we're going to see continuation, bullish continuation. And if we see a close below that 4-hour, then I'm going to expect price to come down to that previous day low. So right in the middle of that range, this is a very key level. Make sure you have this 4-hour bullish fair value gap charted out. I think it's a very key level here that we're going to need to pay attention to, whether that's something we trade into tonight or whether that's something we trade into tomorrow morning during New York session. All right. Looking at the 4-hour on ES over here, obviously it looks a little bit different. We do have this 4-hour bullish fair value gap here overlapping the daily fair value gap and overlapping previous day low. Besides that, we have a pretty weak range on ES. So this one could very easily come back down to that previous day low. Compared to NQ, NQ is going to have to fight through this imbalance, whereas ES doesn't have to fight through that imbalance. It just needs to come down for that liquidity. So nothing else I want to chart out there. And then looking over here on ES, we've closed above that 4-hour bearish fair value gap there, but we still have that SMT divergence. Remember, the SMT divergence could definitely keep us down, could make us reverse back down to sell side. Okay, so that's everything I'm concerned about on NQ and ES on the 4-hour time frame. All the key levels I'm looking at. I would want to see some kind of retracement, at least down into the discount of this range, like I talked about, and this discount is going to be at 22,16225 is the equilibrium. So anything below that's the discount. I want to see us retrace at least into that discount before seeing our next expansion move up. So that's what I'm looking at there. And then what I want us to do next is go to our next chapter. So we're going to go to the hourly fair value gap now, or the hourly time frame, not fair value gap. And let's look at the hourly time frame. Now we're going to look for hourly imbalances. We're going to look for hourly liquidity levels. Okay, so on the hourly time frame, the first thing I want us to do is look for bullish fair value gaps, and that's where we're going to have to look over here. And I don't see any bullish fair value gaps off the my first look here on this entire range up. The only bullish fair value gaps we had were here and here, and we closed below those, so we inverse those levels. Going down here, we don't have another 4-hour bullish fair value gap until all the way down here. All right, pretty small fair value gap right here on the hourly time frame. Very small fair value gap. That's the only hourly fair value gap I see in this entire range on the hourly, right? So the 4-hour and the 1 hour, this is the only hourly fair value gap I see. So what does that tell me? Not a ton of levels that could hold us up on this move down. So especially if we trade below this 4-hour bullish fair value gap like I was talking about, then I could see us trading all the way down to this hourly, all the way down to this 4-hour, right? So we don't see many other levels on the hourly that are going to hold us up besides that. And then obviously we have this hourly down here overlapping that daily, okay? But once we come down into this daily bullish fair value gap, that's when I'm expecting price to continue back up again. So I'd expect this hourly bullish fair value gap to hold us up anyways. I'm not going to chart that level out right now. But again, you can do the same thing with your fib. It's going to be the same levels, but chart it out this hourly range from the high to the low. And what do we see? Remember that 4-hour fair value gap there, and then the hourly down here, all in the discount of this range. So it's the same range on the 4-hour and the 1 hour here. So that's all I want us to chart out there. Okay, so let's look up here for bearish fair value gaps now on the hourly, because we want to see where our bearish levels are. So what we do have is a small hourly bearish fair value gap right here. Very small one. Boom, right there. But it doesn't matter the size of the fair value gap. It's still going to be important because it's still an imbalance. Okay, so we have that hourly fair value gap there. And then we have this hourly bearish fair value gap up here. Boom, right here. 1 hour SIBI. Okay, so we've got a few hourly bearish fair value gaps, right? So these are also key levels, because if we want to see price continue down tonight, right? If we want to see price come down for that 4-hour bullish fair value gap down here, then we need to see a reaction off of either this 1 minute or 1 hour SIBI or this 1 hour SIBI. If we're going to trade through these 1 hour bearish imbalances, then we're just expecting price to continue higher, right? So if price trades back into either of these levels, we need to see a reaction off of those fair value gaps to see a continuation back down. That's why we chart out those imbalances there. If we look further to the left of our charts, like we did on the 4-hour, we want to see if we have any hourly imbalances over here to look at that are worth noting. And we do, right? So what we have up here is we have a big hourly bearish imbalance here. Boom. I'm just going to extend that to the right. Let's see, style. We're going to extend that to the right there. Okay, and then we're going to go hourly SIBI here. What happened? We need to extend that to the right. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have that big hourly imbalance. And then we also have this hourly imbalance, but I'm more concerned about this one up here. We do have like another small one here. I don't want us to worry too much about that. What I am concerned about is this hourly fair value gap up here. Okay, because that's going to be our next level that price would have to push through for the longs to continue, right? So once we trade into this hourly imbalance, that's when we're expecting a reaction off of that level as well. And if we fight right through this level, then we're for sure going to see a continuation up to that all-time high, right? So a few strong levels, imbalances on our hourly here that are going to hold us down. And then we've got a few strong 4-hour bullish imbalances down here. Remember, price is always targeting liquidity and imbalances, all right? So that's really the main focus I want us to have right now, is on the hourly and the 4-hour and the daily. And when I look at these time frames, on the higher time frames, we're holding bullish order flow or bullish structure, right? Everything still looks very bullish on our higher time frames. We still look like we want to have continuation higher and create all-time highs. But when I look at this pullback, and when I look at the fact that we have been pretty bullish for a while, and then we get this SMT divergence, and then we have a daily bullish fair value gap below, we formed a swing high. I want to see price at the least come down and rebalance this range on the 4-hour at the least. So I want to at least see us come down to this level down here around 22 156, roughly around that area, to rebalance this range. And if we do want to continue down, then that's when I'm expecting us to come down to that previous day low and have a very bearish day tomorrow. Now, let's say we come into tomorrow and we're very bullish overnight. Everything is telling us bullish. Well, then we're forgetting about the shorts. We're moving on. We're changing our idea, and we're looking for the longs to continue up to those all-time highs, right? So we always have our plan. We always have our analysis, but we have to be willing to adjust our plan if things look different, right? And that's why I do pre-market analysis every morning to see what we did overnight, what levels did we create, what imbalances did we inverse, what liquidity did we take out, and what liquidity do we still need to go take out, right? Because doing charting the night before is very important, because you want to have a good idea of what price is looking like, but it's going to be way more important to do your charting the morning of market open so that you know where price moved overnight, right? It's going to give you a fuller picture, and that's why every single morning I hop on 15-20 minutes before market open. That way we can do our full charting. We can chart out our Asia highs and lows, our London highs and lows, and see where price is truly at. So right now, going into tomorrow, I want to see some kind of pullback. I want to see some kind of retracement move that's going to come back down into this 4-hour busy, or possibly into the daily fair value gap. And then after that, going throughout the week, I want to see continuation of bullish price action heading up to all-time highs, right? So again, we could very easily be bullish tomorrow. It's going to depend what we do overnight. But right now, looking at these charts, I do want to see that pullback, and then I want to see bullish price action throughout the week. Now, we have to pay close attention to our fundamentals, to our news that's coming out, to any news about tariffs, to any economic news that's going to affect us, any of our companies that are going to affect price, right? These are all the things that we still need to pay attention to, but purely technical analysis, that's what I'm expecting going into this week. Overall, a weekly bullish outlook, but going into tomorrow, I do want to see if we get some pullback to tomorrow, possibly Tuesday, before seeing expansion back up to all-time highs, all right? That's what I'm looking at. Do you guys have any questions, any comments that you would like me to go over, anything you're confused about? Please let me know right now, and I will answer as many questions as I can get to before we end the session. Please let me know in the chat, guys. Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Frank, my guy, how we doing, bro? Appreciate you, man. Yeah, guys, I just want to thank you guys for joining up. Again, still going to stick around, answer any questions you may have. Remember, make sure you have a trading plan going into this week, guys. What is your plan this week? Do you have a strict set of rules that you're going to follow? Or are you just kind of jumping into your broker, jumping into the charts and taking random trades, right? You want to have that strict set of rules that you're following every single day, and set that plan tonight before the week starts, right? You have an understanding of where you expect price to go this week, but how are you going to execute your trades? What setups are you going to be looking for? What entry models? What market structure, right? You have to have all of this set, have an idea of what you're looking for before you start trading, because if you don't, then you're going to get caught up pretty quick in the fast-paced market, and you're going to lose sight of what you were trying to do originally. I went and watched it over at a bar downtown or on the strip, and that was a fun game, bro. But yeah, Auburn handled them the whole game, dude. Auburn handled them the whole game. It's a good thing I'm not an Alabama fan. If two people are playing chess, one can see the future and one can read minds, who will win? Dude, wouldn't they just like tie? They would just tie, right? I don't know. That's a tricky question. Thanks for mapping this out. I haven't seen a chart session like this before. Explains a lot. Hey, my pleasure, of course. I'm glad you got some value from this. Yeah, I do this typically every Sunday night. We do charting sessions, but we really want to break it down. I want to break it down into so you guys can completely understand what I am seeing in these charts. Yeah, Vinny, having a system is so key, man. I would recommend that you start journaling. You come up with a very clear set of rules for yourself. I'm telling you, if you have a system, because we talked about this on Friday, right? Being disciplined to a process. But if you don't have a process or a system, then you don't have anything to be disciplined to. So first of all, You have to create that system or create that process, and then you can start becoming disciplined to that system every single day. So that just looks like, what is my risk management plan? What account am I trading, or accounts am I trading? What setups am I looking to trade? Am I journaling all of my trades, right? You have this system, and then you can stick to that every single day. Then your trading will start improving, right? Even if you're not becoming profitable as soon as you like, your trading is still going to change. You're still going to be way more disciplined. You're going to be taking better trades. You're going to start getting rid of some of those bad habits that you had before and replacing them with good habits. Yes, sir, Andy. Of course, man. Of course. Yeah, that's an interesting question, Crixus. I would think that they would tie. That's just that's what I would think, because that's like almost, because the person that can read minds is going to know, even if the other person knows the future. Now you're making my brain, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's my answer, though. All right, guys. What else you got? Any other questions for me? Anything else I can answer? Anything else I can answer? Man, I'm excited for this trading week. Shorter week, don't matter. We execute the same. We stay the same. We do the same discipline every day. Remember, patience is key. If you can wait for your A+ setup, good things can happen. Good things can happen. We've seen that a lot this past week. On those 4 days that we took winning trades, some of those days we waited an hour plus, sometimes 2 hours to even take one trade before taking it. And then we ended up catching a big win because we're able to stay patient and wait for our perfect setup, right? Trump speaks at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. or 9 a.m.? Yeah, CBZ, we have the sale going. It ends tomorrow. So use on the VIP sign up, use code ILOVENQ, all caps. ILOVENQ, all caps. And then you're going to get 33% off for 3 months. So each month you're going to have a 33% off. So basically makes that last month for free. Yeah, that sale ends tomorrow. So yeah, go sign up tonight if you are looking to join VIP and live trade with me every day, 2 times a day. 9 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so market might be moving tomorrow night then. Market might be moving tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm going to be here in Alabama for a few more days. I'm flying back to Utah. And then literally the next morning, I fly out to Phoenix for a wedding. And then I'll be back and chilling in California, or chilling in Utah for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, right now, it doesn't look like we're getting a ton of movement here during Asia. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be wild during Asia session with Trump speaking. I don't even like touching Asia session after a bank holiday because it's still usually pretty low volume since the institutions still are not around yet, right? So I like waiting for the next day. I don't like touching the entire Monday or Asia or London session. I wait until New York on Tuesday to take any trades. I don't like touching the market. No matter what time it is, even if it's the middle of the night on a bank holiday, I still won't touch it. You can see right now, we're not moving too much. Just kind of stuck in this range here, low volume. Yeah, so I wouldn't be looking for trades tonight. But yeah, tomorrow Asia session is going to be pretty wild. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, guys, anything else you got for me? Any other questions? Any other comments? Of course, Frank, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Let me know now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Just kidding. If you don't have a question now, just shoot me a DM or send out a message in the chat, and I'll make sure to get back to you, get an answer for you. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's what I got for you tonight. Of course, man. Of course. It's my pleasure. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Get some good sleep tonight. Make sure you come up with that system where you start journaling a little bit if you need to tonight. Start coming up with a rough idea of what your trading system looks like. That way, going into the week, you have a little bit more of a plan that you can stick to. All right, guys. Well, let's get it this week. Remember, discipline, patience, execution. That's what we're focusing on every single day. And not having a fear of losing, right? Not having a fear of losing. If you can stick to those things, good things can happen. So let's keep it up. Let's keep going. Let's grind this week. And yeah, guys, for any free members, I'll see you on Friday. Hopefully you join VIP on that sale. It's a 7-day free trial too. So And then my VIP members, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 6:15 a.m. PST. All right. Good night, everybody. See you guys in the morning. Peace out.